What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What? That's right. Your boy EJ Stewart here for 40 days, 40 nights. We are on day number 29. You surprised to see me? Didn't think I'd get up. Didn't think I'd be ready. Just came back from doing the WFAN show. Shout out to WFAN, where I part-time host here in New York City. Did a show overnight, midnight to 5 a.m. And here I am, your boy EJ. You thought I was going to forget about 48 and 49. You thought that this was going to stop because I had to go do an overnight show. No, this train keeps going. We're not stopping for anything. 40 days, 40 nights continues for day 29. Fresh off of doing just another radio show for, 5 hours. And we come back the next morning and we're ready to go for another episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights. And I'm really happy to do this one. We got plenty to get to. We're going to talk about the Yankees shortstop situation, which took a interesting turn yesterday when Aaron Boone entered a new name into the chat as someone who may be getting time at shortstop this season and what it means for the future of Anthony Volpe. We'll also talk about the Knicks. Knicks get started with their second half of the season tonight. They got the Detroit Pistons in a marquee national TV game on Peacock. Pistons number 1 seed, Knicks number 2 seed. And Mike Brown, who has a new toy to play with one Jeremy Sochan, who was picked up in the buyout market. Questions remained what would happen with him in terms of the rotation. Is he a guy that's going to come in and play right away? Is he a guy that's going to come in and have to wait his turn, or maybe be a guy who's seen as more of a depth piece? Turns out he's going to get his opportunity. He's going to play. And that means that Mohamed Diawara could indeed be coming to the bench. So we'll talk more about what that means for the Knicks as they get ready for the second half of the season. We'll also talk about some college hoops. It was a crazy, wild night in college basketball. UConn went down to Creighton. We had a special performance in Tuscaloosa, a double overtime thriller where one team won, but there really was only one true winner. There was only one individual from this game when you think about how this game shaked out. And then we got to go to Kansas yet again because Darryn Peterson, a prospective top 3, perhaps number 1 pick in this upcoming draft, once again sits out for the majority of a second half in a situation that even Bill Self at this point seems to just be throwing his hands up saying, I don't really know what to say about this. So we got a lot to get to, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. 40 days, 40 nights with your boy, EJ Stewart. Shout out to my guy, Bob Custer, in the chat this morning. Already getting after it. Good morning, EJ, etc. from snowy and scenic Reno, Nevada. Still snowing there, man. It snows a lot there. In the high Sierra, day 29. Time for Dutch Brothers double frap with 3 extra shots of espresso. This coffee is going to be my lifesaver here. I am coming from a show where I did 5 hours on the radio on the overnight, midnight to 5 a.m. And I kept saying, like, maybe I should have planned this out better. Maybe I should have thought about something else or some contingency plan. I had no contingency plan. I was asked to do the show on the fan. I didn't hesitate. I was like, hell yeah, I want to get on the fan. I want to talk to the people of New York. I want to talk to this area. I want to get to the godfather of New York sports radio, this station I love. So hell yeah, I'm going to take that mic and do this overnight show. You got 40 days and 40 nights. Yeah, I know that. And we'll do that too. But we're going to find a way to do both. And maybe I should have planned this out better, but this is where we're at. So here I am, 1 hour of sleep, coming back to rock with you guys for a little bit. And I do appreciate you guys rocking with me again. You're taking the double shots or triple shots of espresso, Bob. No espresso in this coffee, but this coffee is going to be my lifesaver for the time being as we try to get through this show. And this is going to be a lot of fun. Again, streaming live, multiple spots, including streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart on X. Make sure you follow me there. Streaming live on Instagram, Action EJ, and of course streaming live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, New Generation Media is where you'll find the YouTube channel. If you're there, do me two favors. Please subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. We do awesome content. As you can see, we go far above and beyond just the norm when it comes to what we want to do with the show, what we want to do with this channel, how much we want to grow it. And subscribing to the channel is a great help to us. So if you can support us in that way, we greatly appreciate you if you can do that. So subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Also, if you can, get in the comment section. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. Do whatever you got to do to engage with this video and engage with this show. Because, again, that also helps us in a major way. So if you can subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. That helps. We also post this podcast on our podcast channel. You can find that New Generation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you get your podcast, you should be able to find New Generation Podcast Network. That's where you can find all episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights, along with other content we produce for New Generation Media. Night 28, which wrapped up last night around 8 o'clock, as I then turned around and tried to get ready for then a WFAN show shortly after that, and then I'm back here. Night 28 should be up by now. I uploaded it this morning right before I started, so if it's not up just yet, it should be up in a couple of minutes. So if you missed Night 28, you can always go back and check this out. And when this episode is done, I don't know if I'll do it right after the show, to be honest, because that bed that is literally 2 feet away from me looks quite nice, and it was not the easiest to get up this morning. I will be hitting right back to that bed. So I don't know if this podcast episode will be up immediately, but it will be up shortly after the show is over, sometime this afternoon. So make sure you also subscribe to that podcast channel, New Generation Media. New Generation Podcast Network is the podcast channel. Make sure you subscribe there, and make sure as well when you're on there, if you can give us a 5-star review, if you can write a written review, all those things again help the podcast channel grow as well. So if you can subscribe to the podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network, that helps us a ton. So let's get right to it, man. Let's get to some of these topics for today. And I want to begin actually where I began my WFAN show last night, 'cause I'm still trying to find answers to this. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But I think I have a good feel for this. So the Yankees announced yesterday, Aaron Boone, that Ryan McMahon, who is their third baseman, starting third baseman of the New York Yankees. In fact, it was a huge deal about what the Yankees were going to do at third base. Jazz Chisholm was struggling there because that's not his natural position. Of course, they had moved on from DJ LeMahieu, and he was also old and kind of washed anyway. And this was a massive hole the Yankees were dealing with last season. And everything coming down to the trade deadline is, what are we going to do about third base? They got to find an answer for third base. And then here you go. Ryan McMahon from the Rockies shows up, and he becomes Yankee third baseman. I think most Yankee fans were supportive of it. Does he have his flaws? Yes. Is he terrible against lefties? Yes. Is he overall kind of a suspect kind of hitter? Yes. But he's got power. He's decent enough against righties where you can play him and not feel terrible. And he's a great glove. He's a great third baseman from a defensive aspect. So you knew that all the problems you were having defensively, that goes away with Ryan McMahon playing third base. So there you go. Everything done, right? We're done with Ryan McMahon. That's all set, and we can move forward with the rest of the team. As Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, because now we learned yesterday that Ryan McMahon, who is the starting third baseman for the New York Yankees, will spend time in spring training getting reps at shortstop. Well, why would you need your starting third baseman to ever need to get reps at shortstop? Aaron Boone said this is being looked at as a way to see if Ryan McMahon can be a backup option at that position. And, of course, be ready if there are any potential situations that come about that they can't foresee. Multiple injuries, ejections, and they got to move guys around. Something like that. Okay. Emergency situation, sure. This is a guy who's never played serious third base. Shortstop. He has played in a game for, I think, an inning or two at shortstop, but never got a ball hit to him. He's not a shortstop by trade. So you need to prepare for him in a doomsday scenario. Seems a weird thing you have to actually spend training time on, but okay, we can maybe see that. But it wasn't just that. They want to see if he can be a backup option to give them more options in terms of how they maneuver their lineup, maneuver their infield. He's your starting third baseman. Why does he need to be a backup option? So what is really going on here? And I think what's going on is actually quite simple. I think it's a soft launch for what they think may be the end of an era, which is Anthony Volpe being the future shortstop for the New York Yankees. He's their president shortstop, and there was a lot of hope and hoopla. We talked about it with Keith McPherson last week, that he would be the chosen one, the anointed one, the heir apparent to Derek Jeter. And it hasn't worked out very smoothly. He's been up and down. Last year was a miserable, injury-riddled year where he tore his labrum, played through it, and did not seem to play well through the injury. Now, to his credit, he spoke a couple days ago. He's not blaming the injury for his poor performance when it came to the field or the bat, but the field and the bat was a problem. He was a problem defensively, whether it was his glove. He could not throw the ball consistently for first base, and he had his worst offensive season with the Yankees last season. He's a young player. And throughout these struggles, you would think, hey, maybe the Yankees don't sit him down. Maybe give him a break. Maybe send him to the minor leagues to figure himself out. Nope. The Yankees said he is a quote-unquote gold glove shortstop. And we are lucky to have him, and we are excited to move forward with Anthony Volpe as our shortstop. We're not looking at anybody else. Oh, things have changed. Time makes people think things in a different way. And here you are. You got Anthony Volpe, who is on his way on back. He is right now, I believe he's still going through his swing program as he is close and close to being able to swing a bat in full. He'll then have to do some soft toss. And then the last step when it comes to his recovery will be, can he be able to land on that shoulder for diving plays and things like that, not worry about an injury, which is important. I'm someone who had torn labrum. I did not get it surgically repaired. But the one thing about shoulder injuries, where you deal with torn labrums or dislocations, typically when you tear your labrum, there was some kind of dislocation that is involved. The problem is with it, it's essentially the washer between your shoulder joints. It basically is a protective tissue that doesn't allow your shoulder to come out of socket. And if you don't get it prepared, the more times you play, the more likely you are to have that shoulder pop out. Now, when you get surgery and you get it repaired the way Anthony Volpe did, it makes it a lot more likely you don't deal with that kind of situation. But he plays obviously a physically grueling sport, especially at shortstop, where he's going to be forced at times to dive on the floor and get on the ground. Of course, he has to slide, obviously, sometimes head first. So collisions and things like that and hitting the ground are things he's going to have to feel comfortable with, and hoping that that shoulder's going to be fine. And again, he did get surgery, so you hope that he'll be okay, but it's just going to be something that's going to be a risk for him moving forward. So it's a real hurdle, but that's the last hurdle he'll have to deal with before he can get on the field. He's saying, I'll be ready to go by April. Maybe not the start of the season, but in April, I feel like I'll be go back out there and get my spot back. And he says he has a big chip on his shoulder. If I was advising Anthony Volpe, I would be like, you need to not worry about any timetable. You need to worry about being as healthy as possible for when you return to the field. Because as soon as you put on those pinstripes, the evaluation of you and your future of the New York Yankees is going to begin immediately. I have a million drops, and I need to grab the drop. I'm sorry I don't have it, but I've been quoting Cam Newton a bunch. One of my favorite internet memes right now is that meme they do whenever they're talking about a struggling young player in a sport, and they play the Cam Newton rant he had about Keon Coleman, where he's like, people ain't going to just be patient with you. They're taking the Buffalo City by storm and dancing, and I love cookies, and we have that patience for young players. You know, that rant, play that rant for Anthony Volpe. It 100% applies. New York City ain't going to be patient with you. And the Yankees have been patient with you, but I think that patience has run out when they get to a situation where they're like, we want to try it and see if our third baseman can play shortstop. Why? I don't know why. Don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. Backup option, emergency. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the details. We just want to see. We just want to get a look. Just want to get a look. You never know what may happen. Never know. I challenged calls on WFAN this morning. I'm 34 years old. I'm getting up there. I'm not a young fella anymore, but I'm also not the obviously oldest, right? So I've not seen 5 and 6 decades of Yankee baseball like some of my callers have or some of my listeners have. So I put it out there. I was like, please inform me about something that I don't know if I'm wrong about this. But I was a kid when the rise of Derek Jeter happened. I remember it because I was a kid. And a little side story. Derek Jeter was my first favorite player in baseball. My first favorite player. Even though I am currently a Mets fan, and I've been a Mets fan for about I'm 34, about 28 years, 27 years. I initially was a Yankee fan. Because my dad grew up in Harlem, and my dad went to Yankee Stadium, right across in the Bronx, and my dad loved the Yankees growing up. And my dad grew up as a kid of the 70s watching the Yankees win titles, and Reggie Jackson and the Ron Guidry and the great Yankee teams of that era, right? Chambliss and Thurman Munson and all those studs. Greg Nettles. You want to talk about great third baseman, right? So I actually was a Yankee fan for the first 7 or 8 years or so of my life because that's what I knew. But as a kid growing up in Queens, and all my friends are Mets fans, and the Mets are on the come up, and they get Mike Piazza, and I'm actually seeing the Yankees win the World Series all the time. And maybe I'm a weirdo person, but I'm like, this seems a little weird. The rooting for the overwhelming favorite dynasty thing just didn't sit well with me. And I find myself not wanting to root for the Yankees. I was like, why am I doing this again? Mets seem a lot more fun over there. They're plucky, they're underdogs. Ooh, Mike Piazza just showed up. That's kind of makes them interesting. Ooh, they have black uniforms. That's cool. These are the things that influence you as a kid. And I jumped ship. I'm one of the only people maybe in the history of New York sports that was a part of the Yankee fan base, albeit I was 7 years old, and said, I'm going to the Mets. Most people would be like, what the hell are you doing? Which is basically what my dad was saying when I was a kid. But I defected. I'm a former Yankee fan that became a Mets fan, and then has been a Mets fan for the rest of my childhood and for my adult life. And there will not be a switchback. I will always be a Mets fan. I think childhood age, I think, is appropriate. You can switch teams and it's fine. As long as you do it, in my opinion, I think as long as you do it before you get to middle school, I think that's fine, which is what I did. I switched around 4th grade or so, 4th or 3rd grade. Because 98, when they got Piazza, that's when I jumped ship. And 98, the Yankees about to win the World Series, the best team in baseball. I was like, this doesn't fit me. I like rooting for the underdog. So I became a Mets fan. But Derek Jeter was my first favorite player in baseball. He was young. He was awesome. He was playing shortstop, which is my favorite position in baseball. There was nothing not to like about Derek Jeter back then. So I challenged my audience as someone who was still very young. Please inform me if in the early years of Derek Jeter being a star for the Yankees, I'm not talking about 2005 and 2007 at this point where he's established as a world champion and multiple-time All-Star. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the beginning. I know he won basically as soon as he got here, but I'm talking about the early years, just like what Anthony Volpe is dealing with right now. Did the Yankees just randomly say, hey, Scott Brocious, I know we have Derek Jeter here. He's the future of the franchise. He's the future of this position. But can you just go over there and play some shortstop? Why? Injury, emergency, who knows? But we just want to see. Just go out there and play some shortstop. I know you don't really play shortstop. I know you're only a third baseman. You're a very good third baseman. You're very good defensively. But we just play some shortstop. Even though we have a franchise guy there. I told you. I'm like, and the chat, you guys are older than me as well, some of y'all. If you know something I don't know, I don't remember that story happening. I don't remember the Yankees being in a situation where they had a franchise shortstop that they believed to be the future of their team at that position, and them deciding that they're going to spend valuable time in spring trading having their starting third baseman go over and play shortstop. I don't remember it. Derek Jeter was a pretty durable guy, but he also had injuries as well. I don't remember there being a time where it was like, let's just see if the third baseman can play shortstop. One of the things I said earlier today when I was on the fan also was, think about the Mets. The Mets actually have also an injured shortstop who is their franchise player. A little different because he's older. But a franchise shortstop who is injured, who is going to try to roughneck it through the early parts of the season with this broken hamate bone or stress fracture in his hamate bone in Francisco Lindor that he got surgically repaired. The Mets have a all-star shortstop playing third base And even they're saying we're not even thinking about moving that guy over the shortstop while Francisco Lindor is injured, and we're hoping he'll be back for the start of the regular. There's no like, oh, let's get Bo Bichette. Like, go play shortstop in case we may need you there, because they actually, in theory, they might. They didn't even entertain that because Lindor is a guy. They don't even want to begin the conversations about, oh, Bichette's playing shortstop. What does that mean for Lindor? Does he become more expendable? Blah, 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 blah. Like, nope. He's a third baseman. He's got to learn how to play third base, and we're going to keep him at third base. That's happening right across town. Or I guess right now across the state of Florida, because they're not up yet. But with the Yankees in Tampa, they're taking their third baseman and saying, hey, go play some shortstop, because reasons. They have a bunch of options at shortstop. They have Jose Caballero. They signed Paul DeJong, what people seem to forget about. They have Oswaldo Cabrera still, who was also a big time prospect that they hoped may maybe be the future of the middle of the infield with him and Volpe. He can also play shortstop. They have Ahmed Rosario, former Mets prospect, who came up as a shortstop. He's not the greatest defensive player, but he can play the position in a pinch. They have plenty of emergency options. They have plenty of backup options. Why are you doing this? My theory is you do this because you look at the situation and say, Anthony Volpe's going to come back and he's going to get his shot. But we watch this guy now for 3 years. And the reality is he might be a tomato can. So if he is a tomato can, and we're a team that's in a win now mode, and we have to make an adjustment to this team because we're not going to allow Anthony Volpe to languish in our lineup and struggle out in the field for all these different months and months and months leading up to the playoffs, and not potentially look at how we can upgrade the left side of our infield. And we have to put all options on the table, which includes being flexible enough to wonder if McMahon, who is an excellent fielder at third, can play short. Maybe he makes sense to move to short if a upgrade at third base becomes available at the trade deadline. Because the problem with if Volpe isn't it, and these other guys that are kind of more journeyman type guys or guys that are fringe Major League Baseball players, Caballero maybe the guy had the best opportunity to maybe be a starter for the Yankees if that was to happen. He's going to start the season as a starter until Volpe gets back. There's a chance those guys, if Volpe stinks, that those guys will also stink. Cabrera has stinked for most of his career. Rosario has had moments of being pretty good, but he's probably not the greatest fielding shortstop. It's probably not a guy you want there long term. And also, he's supposed to be, by the way, your platoon for Ryan McMahon. Though you have DeJong, you have other options if you need to go with a different guy for a right-handed bat. But he has a role that you're trying to put him in. So I think the Yankees are thinking, man, Volpe stinks, and we have to find a way to say, hey, how can we upgrade this? But maybe there aren't shortstops available at the trade deadline. Maybe there aren't guys that make sense as a obvious upgrade to Volpe. They have to look at it and say, well, maybe there's an upgrade to McMahon, and if we think McMahon can handle the position and he can be a better option at shortstop than Volpe, then we'll just move him there and get a great third baseman. I had a great caller made a great point. Who's to say what's going to happen with the Padres? Because you get kind of conflicting things about whether or not they're actually potentially going to be sellers this year. The team has, their owner. The owner had passed away recently, and they spent all this money because his owner wanted to see his team before he passed, really compete for a championship. And who knows what's true and what's not true, because we got a lot of these broke boy owners. But shout out to the Padres for actually putting their money where their mouth was. But now they're looking at all the money they spent, and they're wondering, can we actually afford to keep doing this? At least that's what they're saying. They also could simply be saying, hey man, I know that was bro, but maybe now that we're running the show, we can go back and get these profits. Let's not worry about putting the best team out there in the field. So there's been this conflicting thing of whether or not they're actually going to be sellers or whether or not they will remain a team that's going to the higher spending teams in baseball. But one caller made a great point. Hey, is that a possibility where if they are sellers, could they call a team like San Diego and say, hey, what's going on, Manny Machado? That's a huge contract. Do you want to keep him there? I know he's kind of become Mr. San Diego Padre. I would hate to see him leave the Padres, but he is older. That is a huge contract. And if they are trying to move forward in a much more cost-effective way, he would be a guy that would make sense that could be on the move. Or someone like a Fernando Tatis, who, by the way, has also played shortstop. Obviously, came up as a shortstop. Right now, he's playing in the outfield. But maybe he's a guy they say, hey, listen, maybe shortstop wasn't the right position, but maybe he could play third. I say, yeah, that 100% could be one of the things they're thinking about when it comes to guys that could be able. I just think they're trying to be as flexible as possible. But I don't think this is nothing. The Yankees will try to downplay this, say, oh, this is just no big deal. There's no reason for them to ever have to play Ryan McMahon at shortstop unless they don't think that Volpe's going to be playing there full time or that he's not even on the team. That's the only scenario where this makes sense. So, man, I find this very fascinating. And I think, that, again, we talk about, young people, they'll say, oh, I'm soft launching my relationship. So maybe they'll show a picture with them with a rose on Valentine's Day to illustrate that someone got it for them. Or you'll see a picture of them and you'll see them holding a random hand to show, hey, I got a man or I got a woman. You'll know who it is because I'm soft launching that relationship. I don't want people to know that who this guy is or who this gal is. We're soft launching. This, I feel, is the Yankees soft launch. Oh, we're not saying Volpe's gone. We're not, throwing him out. But this is the equivalent of, the holding the rose on Valentine's Day without knowing who it is. We may have an option. We may have somebody that could be our new thing at shortstop. We don't want to tell you who it is because we don't know for sure if it's going to work out and if it makes sense. But I think this is the soft launch. I really do. Now, it's not like it's over. Volpe's going to get a chance to play. It's not like he's going to come up and they're going to be like, hey, sorry, man, we moved on. They've invested too much. They've talked this kid up too much. They're going to see this thing through. But like I said, if I'm not rushing back for April. You better come back ready to play and be ready to go. 100%. This is not going to be Anthony Volpe's hitting 190, but it's okay because the Yankees are still winning and we're going to try to, get through this while Volpe finds his way. That is not happening. I think it would have happened in previous years. That's how they viewed him. They're not viewing him like that now. Times have changed. I think this Ryan McMahon move to shortstop for spring training is going to happen again. He's going to still play plenty of third base, but there are going to be innings and games where he'll play some shortstop. I don't expect this is going to be a small thing. I think this is going to be a huge thing for the Yankees, potentially, if Anthony Volpe struggles at the shortstop position. I'd love to know to you guys. Do you think, am I tinfoil hat? I can't blame lack of sleep for going with this conspiracy because I had this conspiracy last night and I brought it to the show last night. I'm just continuing the conspiracy. But I do believe that we could be seeing the beginning of the end of the era of Anthony Volpe with them doing this. I'd love to know what you think, chat. Let's see what we got here. We got Bob Custer saying surgery recovery often takes longer than what the surgeon may tell. Aaron Rodgers is a good example. Moving is one thing, moving well is another. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Especially shoulder surgery. The labrum injury and the labrum surgery is tricky. It takes a while before that feels fully healed and fully ready to go. It was a partial tear, so it wasn't like it was a complete tear, so that's helpful, I guess. But I do wonder, how quickly will Anthony Volpe be able to get, no pun intended, right back into the swing of things. I got Rob DeRay. Apparently my comment about me being a Yankees fan when I was young was controversial. Rob saying, discussing admission, EJ, about Derek Jeter and being a Yankee fan. My dad's a Yankee fan. I don't think this was anything to do with me. I don't think this is my fault. In fact, I think I'm showing a level of accountability and what's the other word I'm looking for? Let's just say accountability for now. There's another word that makes more sense that's not coming to me, probably because I've only slept 1 hour. But I'm showing transparency. Ha ha ha. It took me a minute to get to it, but the 1 hour sleep brain helped me, still got me through there. No, there's a level of transparency that I'm giving you guys. I could have kept that, which I've told people this before, and I've said this on the air before, but I could have kept that and nobody would have known. And I'm like, no, what did I tell you? I want this to be the most authentic version of EJ you get when I step to 40 days and 40 nights. Because it's my platform, I can talk about whatever I want. So I want this to be as fun and to be as raw as possible. So yeah, I know what that makes me look like as a guy who used to be a Yankee fan and then became a Mets fan. Which, to be honest, I don't think that's really bandwagon hopping or, just jumping on, the hot team, because I jumped on the Mets when the Yankees were winning championships. Who leaves a championship dynasty? Nobody, except for me, apparently. And again, I did this when I was 7 years old, where I don't really think that I think that is around the time you can actually form your opinions on what you want. Like, my dad like the Yankees. He wore Yankee hats. He wore Yankee stuff. He rooted for the Yankees. He was excited in '96 when they won. So I root for the Yankees. Just like I root for the Knicks because my dad roots for the Knicks. I stuck with the Knicks. Through some hell and high water, I stuck with the Knicks. Yankees I didn't stick with. I moved to the Mets. I had no problem doing that. A lot of people also discussing this insanity that is me doing this 40 Days and 40 Nights episode after doing a 5-hour radio program at midnight till 5 a.m. and traveling from Manhattan back home where I live in Queens. Another reason why I'm a Mets fan now. And now, this is now 27, 28 years in the making. But being like, what? You really are doing this? This is insane. Let's get some of these comments in here about that. We got Rob on the air, 11 out of the last 26 hours. Ain't about the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Hero stuff from EJ. Shout out to Rob. Appreciate that. Bob also saying, be crazy if EJ did a 24-hour program. There's an aspect to this that I don't want to think of 40 Days and 40 Nights as a stunt. But there is a novelty aspect to it that I hope to bring attention to for people. Is why I'm doing it. 24-hour show. I'm sure people have done something like that. I don't know if I could do that. I think doing this is, in some ways, I think doing this, like what this 40-day stretch I'm doing, is actually harder than doing a 24-hour program. Because 24-hour program, that's one day. And people can stay up for 24 hours for one day. But can you have the consistency to prepare and do a real show? I don't think I've slighted you guys any show I've done. May have had to show up late. May have had stomach issues that didn't allow me to be on time. But I've given you a show every time I've stepped to this mic, and I'm still giving you a show here. So, could I do it? Yes. Will I? Definitely not. But I appreciate you guys. Part of this is like the aspect of the stunt aspect of this, to show a dedication to this craft, dedication to my career and what I want to do. And I hope to do this for the rest of my working life. I don't want to say my whole life, because I hope there's a time you can retire. But for my working life, I love sports. I love commentary. And I'll talk about all this stuff, man. And, with the end of Infinity Sports Network, that could have led folks to say, you know what, it's time for me to put down the mic and do whatever. And I feel like this is something that I'm meant to do. I'm not here to tell you that I'm the best at doing this or I'm the greatest at this or anything like that, but I do feel like it is what I was meant to do with this career. Something I've been doing since I was 6 years old. My parents would give me, a tape recorder and have me do play-by-play of Knicks games just because I wanted to do it, because I just thought it was so neat and fun as a 6-year-old. Around the time I was deciding between the Yankees and Mets. So this is always what I've always wanted to do. This is always what I've wanted to be. So, in this transition period from leaving Infinity Sports Network, still getting to host on WFAN, awesome to have those kind of opportunities. But in that transition period, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just going to walk away from all of that because of one setback. No, we're going to keep it pushing, man. We're going to keep it moving. Rob saying the fans want a 24-hour marathon. I don't know if you actually want that, because there's no way you actually watch it. Like, you'll watch 40 Days and 40 Nights because, it's me talking for, hour and a half, 2 hours out of your day, and you'll come back later, and you'll come back, and you'll have a whole fresh show. I don't think people want to sit with me for 24 hours. No one's doing that. I'm the only one suffering through that pain. At least for 40 Days, 40 Nights, you guys are actually coming to a morning show and then coming back to a night show. For 24 hours, you're going to go back to work, you're going to go eat, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be sitting behind this desk still yapping about whatever. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Bob Custer also giving us some odds here for the Mets and Yankees World Series right now. Mets 14-1 to win the World Series. Yankees 9.5 to 1. I think both aren't awful bets to win the World Series. Yankees, I feel a little better about because they don't have the Dodgers in their league. So the Dodgers will have way more people to get through before getting to the Yankees, because they're the final boss when it comes to Major League Baseball right now. But I definitely think the Mets are in a position where they've improved their roster. There may be some growing pains with people trying to figure out their roles and figure out this new environment, but I think all in all, the Mets are a much better team this year. Or much better, maybe harsh, but I think they're a better team. And I think the team that won their division last year, the Phillies, got a lot worse. And that is very important when we talk about this conversation with who's going to win the NL East and who can win a championship. And the Yankees come into the American League as them and the Blue Jays as the prohibitive favorites, I think, to come out. And the Yankees, I know they're running it back, but I think they still got a golden opportunity still to get back to the World Series with the roster that they have. Let's keep the show going, man. I want to talk some Knicks here. So Mike Brown, he hints at Jeremy Sochan potentially taking a roster spot from Mohamed Diawara. So this is something that I broached with my good friend Dexter Henry from New York Post Sports. Shout out to Dex. He showed up. He came on the show earlier this week. He did a phenomenal job. We talked about a bunch of different things. We talked plenty of Mets. We talked just like sports in general. And we talked a lot of Knicks. And he is confident that the Knicks will, remain the team to beat in the East. And he still thinks that they're the team that comes out of the East when it comes to the playoffs when it's all said and done. And I agree with him. I haven't wavered at all. I was going ballistic when they were losing that 7 out of 9 game stretch. So that was tough to start this journey, and the Knicks playing complete ass kind of basketball. Like, to start this journey like that was not fun. I was like, man, I started this journey expecting to talk, Knicks, they're one of the highest teams in the league. Here we go. It's just a title run. And then I'm raging about Draymond Green and raging about Mike Brown after he had been doing such a phenomenal job. I'm like, this is not how this is supposed to go. But luckily, they've what's the word? Again, this is where 1 hour sleep brain comes in. They fixed the ship. Let's just say that. And they righted the ship. That was what I wanted to say. They righted the ship. They won 10 out of 12. And now they hit into a really important part of the second half. But they made a sneaky move that sometimes these buyout moves tend to be kind of overrated. Like last year when they got P.J. Tucker. And like I said, when they got P.J. Tucker, it was like, I think there was a hope that, he could come in and be like a real enforcer and kind of be that OG that's going to come in and give some flagrant fouls and get in some people's faces if he needs to, when P.J. Tucker was done with that life. He was part of a more civilian life in the NBA. He just wanted to wear fresh kicks, give some guys some advice, and just chill on the bench. He was not trying to get in a fight with nobody, anybody like that. So he wasn't quite what the Knicks fans maybe hoped he would be, which is, I think, to be honest, usually the buyout market experience, which is you're not getting a guy who you're coming in. And they may say, this guy's going to play, he's going to be great, but a lot of the times they end up being not that great. There's a reason why they got bought out by their last team. Sochan feels a little different, though. I mean, this guy is a former first-round lottery pick. He's a guy that's played a ton and started a ton. He's averaged double figures for his career. He's not a good shooter, but he's an excellent defensive player, and he's extremely versatile, both offensively in terms of his ability to play multiple positions because he's a great passer, ball handler for his size at 6'9", and defensively because he can guard 1 through 4, legitimately. So this is an interesting pickup, and it made you kind of wonder what was going to happen with Mohamed Diawara, who played so well for the Knicks moving forward, because they're kind of similar size, similar, body type, and Diawara was playing really well. Kind of made you wonder, hey, maybe you won't have a situation where Sochan comes in and takes his spot. Maybe Sochan's simply just like a depth piece. It seems like, though, with what you heard from Mike Brown, that is not exactly going to be the case. So here's a quote from Mike Brown here talking about this. He said, I'll play young guys, and I have played young guys in front of vets before, but I'm going to give Jeremy an opportunity. He mentions talking about Diawara and Sochan. Sochan knows the league knows him, he knows the officials, and vice versa. So he's going to get an opportunity. But at the end of the day, I'm going to play who I think is best for us. Right now, Jeremy is new. He hasn't played for us. So I have to see rather quickly what we have in him before going to the playoffs. Both guys are going to be free agents because Diawara is on a 1-year deal, which is why I had this conspiracy with Dex that part of the reason that they brought in Sochan was to protect themselves from Mohamed Diawara getting some bag from some other team, and the Knicks wouldn't be able to afford to re-sign him. That, I think, is 100% part of this conversation because he had been playing so well, and if he's playing for the Knicks, a team that is expected to make the playoffs and expected to at least win one round and maybe go on a deep run all the way to the NBA Finals. And this guy is getting legitimate minutes. The whole world, basketball world, is watching this second round pick nobody had heard of that's 20 years old that is 6'9", long arm, can shoot threes, can defend multiple positions. They may be like, whoa, who's that guy? wait, that guy's a free agent? Let me pick up that guy. And the Knicks, because they're trying to stay under the second apron, they're not in a position potentially to want to give Mohamed Diawara some huge contract. So I felt like this was very convenient that a veteran guy who is going to be a free agent, and I think unless he wows the Knicks and he ends up being this awesome fit to where they say, okay, screw the apron, we'll just re-sign him, I think it's unlikely Jeremy Sochan is still with the team next year. I think this is purely a rental spot for this season. They say, oh, Mo Diawara, I know you were playing great. Oh, you were hitting threes. You were playing defense. You were really starting to come into your own. You were getting great experience, which means you probably were maybe going to be in for a really nice payday in this offseason as you become a free agent after just 1 year in the NBA. Oh, no, there goes your playing time. Oh, we got a veteran here. He just so happens to play your position. He just so happens to also be a young player. He's also, though, a veteran, and he also brings a lot of things you bring to the table. How did that happen? Oh, I don't know. Sorry, buddy. So maybe that money you thought was coming to you may not come because you won't have the opportunity to showcase your talents. But, hey, you can still come back to the team, and you can still come back and come back for $2 million a year or some small little salary that we can keep you to so we can stay under the luxury tax, stay under the second apron, and we could be in a good position to continue to build this team. Just seems like a convenient approach. Now, what Mike Brown's saying is not also like nonsense. Like, he's also kind of right. Like, I love how Mo Diawara has played, and I kind of don't want to see him lead the rotation. But if you're going to sign Jeremy Sochan, you actually should see what he has. This is not the Tom Thibodeau era. With Tom Thibodeau, they trade for someone like Cam Reddish, and they don't even see if he can actually vibe with the team. Now, it didn't really matter because Cam Reddish wasn't that good. And to be honest, maybe that was why Tibbs didn't want to play him. But that drove Knicks fans crazy that they would trade a first-round pick for a guy, and then the coach just refused to play him because he has impunity when it comes to how he can run the actual roster, because the people that run the team aren't actual basketball people. They're agents. So they just fall on Tibbs. So they make the trade. Here, Tibbs, here's a 6'8" swing guy that we think can maybe help the team because he can do multiple things. He can shoot the ball from deep. I'm not playing him. Oh, okay. Well, we gave a first-round pick for him, but I guess you make all the rules, so whatever. It's great to have a coach like the owner, James Dolan said, that is collaborative. So here, Jeremy Sochan, we think he can help you. Go give him some run. And now he's going to get some run. And he'll have opportunity. And I think the reason why this is, because some people on, X and people on social media reacting to this stuff, oh, well, I don't think these quotes necessarily mean that Sochan is going to take Mohamed Diawara's minutes. I don't know how you don't see it as anything else. He literally references the Jose Alvarado, Tyler Cole situation. I don't know if it's in part of this quote, but he says it in another quote where he says, it's just like the Jose Cole situation where they picked up, they had Tyler Cole, who was a young player, second year, playing backup point guard, doing a pretty good job, but he's a young player. And then they brought in a veteran who came in, and because he's a veteran, because he provides some different things, some things the Knicks were missing at the backup point guard spot, regardless of how well Tyler Cole had played, they inserted Jose Alvarado immediately into the rotation, and Cole became situational. The fact that when Mike Brown was talking about this, that he mentioned the Jose Alvarado and Tyler Cole situation makes me feel like, oh, he's telling you exactly what's going to happen, just like last time. They came in, they brought in Alvarado, they wanted to see if he could play because they need to see if he's actually going to be viable for them, if he is indeed an upgrade. And Tyler Cole went to the bench. He's become situational, as Tom Thibodeau would say. Mike Brown making that point to even mention Tyler Cole and Jose Alvarado to explain what's going to happen with Sochan and Diawara makes me say that's going to happen here. Diawara goes back to being situational. They'll play Sochan. And I don't think Sochan's a lock to keep the spot. I do believe Mike Brown, because they're also trying to win a championship. They want to keep Mo Diawara. They're not going to not play the best players in order to win. They're all in a win-now mode, like we talked about yesterday with Jalen Brunson in the article at Vanity Fair. So they're going to try to play the best guys. So I think this stretch they're going to have probably about a month or so. We're going to see what Jeremy Sochan can do. I think he's going to help the team because he can guard multiple positions. He's a very good passer. I think he's going to fit with the team better than he fit in San Antonio. Because the big question, of course, is why would you have confidence in a guy that got cut is going to be able to help the Knicks. I think that was more of a fit thing than anything else. That team needs as much shooting as possible because they have guards that get into the paint at will. Their strength is their ability to touch the paint. It's not just Victor Wembanyama. Fox, Harper, and Castle are terrors that get into the basket. But in order to get those guys driving lanes, you need to put them around shooting. Obviously, we know Victor Wembanyama can shoot, but Jeremy Sochan can't. So if that's going to be how your team is going to function with those guys out there playing long minutes, you need to find as much shooting as possible. So they're going with their rookie Carter Bryant, who is not as much a veteran and is much younger than Sochan, but he has the ability to occasionally hit an outside shot. And he's at least a threat where you have to guard him. And with Sochan, teams are just going to let him, they're going to leave him. But the difference with the Knicks as opposed to the Spurs is the Knicks have more shooting. Outside of playing with Mitchell Robinson, there are a few lineups that Jeremy Sochan will play in where he won't have 4 shooters around him. Or at least guys that are threats to make threes. So he fits better with this team. So I think there's a chance he will come here and be fine. And it'll be a much better fit with the Knicks for this half a season that he's playing here. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't struggle, I think that Diawara absolutely can go back in there. You hope that maybe he doesn't lose rhythm and lose confidence for this situation. But I think the Knicks are willing to play that game if it means that they can re-sign him next year. Because I do think they want him to be a part of this team moving forward. Let's keep the ball rolling here, talking about 40 days and 40 nights again. Your boy EJ Stewart rocking with you. A couple more stories I want to get to before I jump out of here and jump right into that bed that looks so beautiful right now. I'm so ready to jump in that bed and go into hibernation until we have night 29. By the way, before I get to night 29, I keep doing this late in the show. Sometimes I'm literally hitting the music, being like, wait a minute, I got an announcement. I forgot to announce something. Big guest coming up later. Big guest for night 29 of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Do not tell Andrew Bogish, because I know I made kind of a promise that I would bring him back here before his nemesis reappeared on 40 Days and 40 Nights. But I felt bad that the entire Maggie and Perloff show has now been featured in one person who was the first person that actually appeared on the show, 40 Days and 40 Nights, did not quite have a true blue full appearance on the show because of technical difficulties. So my good friend and my former associate producer, Manny Rodriguez, will join me live later tonight for 40 Days and 40 Nights. That's right. Manny returns, and I am super excited because Manny's my guy. Overall fun dude. I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about this Ryan McMahon situation. I actually don't know how he feels about Anthony Volpe. I feel like I know a lot of how he feels about the Yankees and a lot of the teams he roots for.
It's the New York Yankees, damn it.
But I'm not sure, actually, if he's out on Volpe. I'll be very curious to ask him. But I'm sure we'll get into the Yankees because he cares a lot about them.
It's the New York Yankees, damn it.
I'm also sure we'll talk plenty of Knicks because he's a huge Knicks fan. There's a big game tonight.
It's the New York Knicks, damn it.
Let's go, Knicks!
So we will have my friend Manny Rodriguez, former associate producer on the Maggie and Perloff show, live later today. I am very, very excited because he's my friend. He's a great guy. And it's going to be a fun show. And having him as a guest is what again, when I think about this show and when I was crafting the show, I wanted the entire Maggie Perloff crew to be guests on the show at some point in time. When we had Manny on, it was a technical disaster, which was very weird because I had Kendall on the week before and he was totally fine, so I didn't know what was going on. Both he and I think, were part of the reason why there were technical difficulties last time.
Wah, wah, wah.
So we're going to have Manny back. He's going to join me for night 29 of 48 and 49. So if you're a fan of Maggie and Perloff show, you'll be in for a treat because Manny is always a wild ride when it comes to what he may say on the mic.
That guy should have been fired 3 weeks ago.
Really excited to have Manny back. So night 29, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Manny Rodriguez will join me.
Cry me a river, willow, Philadelphia fans.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. I want to shift gears here and finish the show talking some college basketball. So I'm a huge college basketball fan. I am also a huge, huge NBA draft fan, which is why this season is heaven if you are in love with both. Because not only are you having an awesome college basketball season where the regular season, for some, if you're a college basketball fan, I don't think you've been with the crowd, but for some people, college basketball has kind of become a 1 month sport. It hasn't felt that way this year. I talked about the game that Kansas and Arizona played, last week? And I said this was a crazy atmosphere, a fun time. And we'll get to Kansas because we got to finish still talking about them. But I was like, this season is rocking. Like, that atmosphere, like, it was special. Special. Awesome game as they upset #1 Arizona to give them their first loss of the season. And there have been so many awesome scenes, awesome games. Last night you had #5 UConn, a team that I think has been a little overrated, to be honest. Now, suffering another Big East loss. They lost to St. John's a couple weeks ago. Now they lose to Creighton. Not a good loss. Not a good loss at all. But this has been a fun season. Vanderbilt got upset by Mizzou. It feels like anybody can win. And it feels like we're going to enter this March Madness with a lot of potential Final Four teams. This is not a year where it's like, all right, just pencil in the 4 #1 seeds. And that may happen. But I don't think this year you pencil the 4 #1 seeds to I feel good. I think that you're looking at, it sucks because JT Toppin got hurt for Texas Tech, and they would have been a dangerous team in March. So I think you had to eliminate them as a team that could possibly win a national championship. And then, of course, I mentioned yesterday how BYU is starting to kind of feel more on the outside despite having super freshman AJ DeBonsa. They also lost Ryan Saunders as well. So they lost one of the best shooters in college basketball and also one of the best all-around scorers because he's a ratchet all around. But Richie Saunders, I said Ryan Saunders. Richie Saunders is an absolute sniper, and I'm actually disappointed because I feel like he would have been an interesting second-round kind of pick guy because he's maybe the best shooter in college basketball. And BYU losing him. They played a valiant, tough game at Arizona. You want to talk about special performances, and we'll get to Darius Acuff in a second. AJ DeBonsa also was special last night on the road as they tried to avenge their earlier season loss to Arizona. Another great atmosphere in Provo where BYU almost came back and stormed back and had a massive upset. But I'm looking at top 25, Michigan, Houston, Duke, Arizona, UConn, Iowa State, and Purdue. I'm not sure about Purdue. They lost another game against an elite team. But I think they're definitely the Final Four contender. Kansas, Nebraska, Illinois, Gonzaga, Florida. Again, I think you're out on Texas Tech at this point. I think you got to take Virginia seriously. I think you got to take Michigan State seriously, especially Tom Izzo. North Carolina lost Caleb Wilson. That sucks, but he's saying he's going to try to come back from that broken hand. And I even think St. John's and Arkansas, who let's talk about them right now, are going to be pesky. Now, Arkansas lost this game last night to Alabama. It was another thriller in college basketball. You're talking about a double overtime loss. Alabama wins in Tuscaloosa at home, 117-115. This was a game that Arkansas led in most in regulation. They had multiple guys out, including Carter Knox, and they essentially had, I think, 8 guys available to play in this game. You would think this is a game that you kind of just throw in the towel and say, we're good. We'll just kind of take this loss and move on. No, they came out and played great, and it was because of their superstar freshman point guard, Darius Acuff. When I tell you this NBA draft class is insane and ridiculous, and this freshman class as a whole is just insane and ridiculous, like I cannot keep emphasizing enough how insane this is. Darius Acuff, who was a top 20 prospect coming up into the high school, coming from the high school ranks to go to Arkansas. You watch this guy play. He has 49 points. He hits a 3 at the end of regulation to send it into overtime. He almost single-handedly carries his team through this game. There is a lot of special talent in college basketball, and he may be one of the most underrated. It's kind of crazy because he's playing for John Calipari. So I know it's not Kentucky, but you think, John Calipari, he has this long lineage of one-and-done point guards that come in and are stars in the NBA. Derrick Rose, John Wall, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just to name a few. De'Aaron Fox. So how is he still being somehow underrated? I think some of it is just everyone being a little bit down on smaller guards in general because we've seen so many like a Scoot Henderson and even the Jalen Suggs like not come in and be the superstars we thought they would be coming into the NBA. I'm having a hard time seeing how Darius Acuff doesn't come in and become a star. This guy is absolutely electric. no weaknesses to this offensive game. He is awesome at attacking the rim. He finishes well at the rim. Handle is on a string. Can score at all 3 levels. Has a beautiful jump shot that, again, he showed with hitting a clutch 3 at the end of regulation to send this game into overtime. Again, this is a game where he's playing with basically one hand tied behind his back with so many guys injured. And then there was a bunch of foul trouble in this game, too. Absolutely dazzling performance. And to be clear, this wasn't like, oh, he was also going up against nobody. Like LeBaron Philon, who I've talked about a ton. Actually, when me and Kellen were doing some NBA draft stuff on Friday night, we were talking about underrated guys in the draft. I mentioned LeBaron Philon as a guy that I know this is a guard-heavy draft, but I feel like Philon's someone who also is being underrated. He had 35 points in this game. He had 35 points. He was phenomenal. He was playing with an injured groin, and he goes and puts up 35 in this double overtime affair. Darius Acuff, we also learned, was dealing with some kind of ankle or foot issue. He had been in a walking boot for a couple days prior to this game, and John Calipari after the game said that he talked to Acuff and said, hey, man, like, given where your health is and given where our team is and how much this is going to be a tough task going into Tuscaloosa and beating a tough team that's kind of desperate at this point, too, try to right their season, you may have to sit this one out. And Acuff said, are you kidding me? Get out of here. I'm playing. And to drop 49 points, played 50 minutes in this game, remarkable. One of the best, if not the best, individual college performance we've seen. The only thing they didn't get was a W, but he did everything he could to try to keep this team in it. Malik Thomas, who's their other star freshman, he fouled out in this game, and that was crucial as a turning point. The bizarre way this game ended was a missed dunk by someone trying to do a putback that doesn't actually normally play because, again, Calipari was just throwing anybody out there just to fill the roster out. I mean, he had guys that hadn't played all game, played the last 1 or 2 minutes of this game. That's how desperate Arkansas was to find bodies that could play. They didn't have that many scholarship guys available. Thriller. Super fun game. First of all, I love watching Alabama play because whether they're playing good or bad, there's going to be fireworks. Just their style, their up-tempo. They play essentially an NBA brand in college basketball. And teams in the SEC, given they love to get up and down, they're athletic, they're totally fine playing this style of play with Alabama. They'll play their game. So it means you're going to have games like this. And this one was a special one where you saw a freshman who I think, again, has been underrated. If you were trying to find people trying to make a case for Acuff anywhere inside the top 7, I think people are like, I don't know. But this guy might be the best guard in the country. He legit, and that's not saying something small because Michael Brown and Flemings and Keaton Vogler and all of these great guards we have in college basketball right now that will be entering the NBA draft. Braden Burries, who I keep talking about, who I think is also underrated. This NBA draft is going to be insane. You want to know why all these teams are so comfortable with being brazen with how they're tanking? Go watch some college basketball this year and watch what Darius Acuff did. Because you don't have to get the number 1 pick to maybe get a superstar. I feel like I watched a superstar last night. I didn't feel like that I was watching. This is a good college player that's having a good game. I'm like, and because he's been doing this. This was this 3rd straight game where he had 25 points. And he seems to be getting better as the season goes on. He seems to be getting more confident. It actually reminds me a lot of Derrick Rose's first season at Memphis, or his only season at Memphis. Because it was similar. Like he came in and he was playing great. And he was a surefire lottery pick. And he was a little more heralded than Acuff. Like he was going to be a top 3 or 4 pick. But he didn't come into that season as the prohibitive first number 1 pick. Michael Beasley was. But Rose got better and better and better as the season went on. He seemed to get more comfortable with college basketball, and then he dominated the tournament up until the national championship game when he forgot to foul Mario Chalmers. But he was getting better. That's what I'm seeing from Darius Acuff. A guy who's getting more comfortable with college basketball, a guy that's understanding the game more, and who's understanding that he can take over and dominate at any point. There's so many points in that game where I was impressed too is that he could have decided I'm just going to go nut. I'm just going to be selfish and look for my own shot. Yes, he took 27 shots, but in a game where he played 50 minutes, he probably should have took 35 shots given he was their offense for most of this game. And they were playing a bunch of guys who simply don't get the amount of minutes that they were playing. Against a desperate and very talented Alabama Crimson Tide team. The best individual performance we saw in college basketball this season happened last night with Darius Acuff Jr. from Detroit, Michigan, who I think it seemed like it was kind of ironclad who that top 5 was. whatever order you wanted, Boozer, Peterson, Wilson, DeBonsa. I think when we talk about this top 5 moving forward, I really seriously think we got to start talking about this kid. Point guard's so hard in the NBA because it's like, it's one of those things where you could look so good, but when you get to that league and you may be undersized. Now, he's about a legitimate 6'3", but he's not going to have a size advantage over most of the guys he's going up against. But you go into this league, the guards are much bigger. Their skill level is otherworldly. Even the average guys are otherworldly skilled. It is a dog-eat-dog position right now. It's been this way for a little while. Essentially kind of since Derrick Rose got in the league, to be honest. This has been, I say, point guard. Outside of quarterback, I think point guard in the NBA is a tough position to play. And it's getting tougher because the league is getting bigger. So if you're a smaller guy, you're oftentimes getting picked on defensively. The rules and the style of play is miserable for you. You can't touch guys to guard them. And all teams run you through are high screening rolls all the time. So you don't even get to guard a guy one-on-one. You're running through screens nonstop. It's a brutal position. And then you're expected to not just run the team, but also be able to actually score the ball. There was a time you could be Avery Johnson. You could just run the offense, throw the ball to David Robinson, and just stand around. And I don't want to disrespect Avery Johnson like he wasn't a good point guard. He was for his time. Excellent defensive player. They called him Little General because he was a good passer. He knew how to get his team organized. He was a little general out there. Avery Johnson couldn't play in today's NBA. He just could not. Not that version of him. He would have to learn how to shoot. He would have to learn to have advanced his offensive game. You simply couldn't be, I'm a little guy who just throws the ball around and plays defense. There's no way without it work. You can't be 5'11" with no jump shot and think that you're going to be able to play in this NBA. That would have been insane. I don't care how tough you are, how smart you are. It's just, those guys don't exist in the NBA. And he started in the NBA for like a decade. He was a staple as a starting point guard. Those guys don't exist. It is brutal playing in this position right now. That's why I think so many people are so afraid now to draft point guards. Because there was a time where people wanted to find the next Derrick Rose, the next John Wall, the next Russell Westbrook, the next Steph Curry. But finding that guy is like they're going to enter a league where they're going to be thrown to the absolute wolves. Because some of those guys are still playing. Some of those guys are still great, like a Stephen Curry. It is what makes Jalen Brunson's magic so incredible. That a guy that's that small, who's still somewhat of a liability defensively, can still be that dominant. Those are the kind of guys you're going up against. But again, even the average guys, the middle of the road guys, are all killers. So you're going to be a point guard in the NBA, good luck to you. But man, this is a class where I'm like, there are going to be some star point guards coming into the NBA next year. You figure out who the guys are. Is it Michael Brown? Is it Acuff? Is it Flemings? Is it Braden Burrs? You can figure out who it is. But there is too much talent at this position to think that all these guys are going to flop. There's no chance. Somebody's going to pop. And I'm watching Acuff now, and because he wasn't as heralded as maybe some of those other guys, I think that he kind of gets dismissed a little bit. You can't dismiss him after last night. He entered the chat as a guy, the potential top 5 pick given that performance. And this is another freshman who has another 40-burger, right? We talked about the game that Flemings had earlier. We talked about the game that Keaton Vogel had earlier. We talked about that a couple weeks ago here. Now here you go. Another all-world guard goes on the road and dominates. Couldn't get the win, but an absolute dominant performance. And again, the point guard on the other team, LeBron Feiline, has 35. This is, I can't wait for March. And the last thing I'll say on Acuff real quick, I texted this to Kendall last night. I texted this to someone who tweeted to me about Acuff's performance, because we have a lot of Maggie Pearl listeners are from Arkansas because we were live there, and I always love talking Razorbacks. Cause I love talking about college programs, just especially with the locals. Cause I love college sports, and it's great to kind of get like their insight on certain things. So whenever you got a chance to talk Razorbacks, I always embraced it, and I would chime in with some Razorback stuff, knowing our audience. So we have some people who follow me who I think are from the area, and we had somebody tweet me about how incredible that performance was, and I tweeted them. I said, listen, I'm not going to be someone who's going to bet my money on Arkansas or any John Calipari team winning a championship, but watching Acuff last night made me feel like he might be the kind of guy that can overcome John Calipari March shenanigans. Because there will be shenanigans with him. We know what he does in March. We know how he loses his mind when it comes to in-game coaching. We know his flaws as a head coach. How much, as good as he can be in getting guys to play together, and despite the fact that they all have a goal to get to the NBA, still play as one and go through a regular season, play awesome defense. Like Calipari has great traits about what makes him a great coach. People like just always talk about his negatives, and we can talk about his negatives because he definitely has them, but he also does a lot of special things as a basketball coach. But I think in March, like, coaching is so important because you're dealing with so many young players, and now you have, especially for his teams, like age discrepancies where his team, where they're playing a bunch of 19, 18, 20-year-olds going up against teams that are generally 23 and 24-year-olds. So massaging those teams through some rough games against some veteran-laden teams, I just don't think he's been the guy to do this, and he's had problems winning with these one and done guys for a little while now. And as an in-game coach, he makes blunders, he makes mistakes, and that's why most of the time I would say a freshman team led by a freshman star and John Calipari's coaching them, stay away from them in March in terms of picking them to go anywhere. Acuff may be different. He may be different. He may be Derrick Rose. He may be some of these other awesome guards that have played at Kentucky that, you know, were able to be special and lead to national championships. He may be one of those guys. Special performance last night. Speaking of another talented freshman, but we're not going to sing his praises here, unfortunately. This Darryn Peterson thing is unlike anything I've ever seen. Ever. And I've been watching, I'm 34 years old, not some guy who's been watching college basketball for 60 years, but I have loved college basketball since I was a kid. Again, 98. 98 is around the time I liked everything. I talk about the 98 All-Star game. I talk about becoming a Mets fan. I think about St. John's 98 season. That was kind of when I first started watching college basketball. In 99, he went to the Elite Eight. Like, that's around the time I really got into sports. So that makes me 7 years old. I've never seen anything like this. So Darryn Peterson, who has been in and out of the lineup all season for various different reasons. We last talked about him last week because I mentioned that game that happened at the Fog, where it's ESPN, Big Monday, the number one team that has NBA talent on the other side that is undefeated is coming to your house. And you can't play because you're sick. You have a stomach flu. If he's sick, he's sick. What are you going to say? But man, you would think this is the kind of game you would kill to want to be in. And Darryn Peterson tapped out. He did not want to play. He didn't think he could help his team, I guess. So, okay, this is a guy who has played in games, pulled himself out, and not played second halves, has had injuries that you would think maybe is a short time, and he's spent weeks and weeks and weeks away from the team. He's been on load management for the college basketball season, which seems, again, unlike anything we've ever seen. And last night, you saw what Acuff's night was. It looked like Darryn Peterson was also maybe headed for that kind of night. Different circumstances because he's playing against OK State, who's terrible. But Kansas is playing Oklahoma State, and Darryn Peterson is absolutely cooking. Red hot from three. All the things that make him a prospective number one pick, he looked like that in this game. I mean, drive-by, pull-up three on movement, spot-up three. All the goods. You're like, this guy he's going to have a 40, 50-point night. That's what it looked like. In 18 minutes, he had 23 points. And, like, this is special. He was 6 for 10 from three. Took 10 threes in 18 minutes. He got him up, but he was on fire. It made sense for him to keep shooting like that. Awesome performance. And then he does the, come get me. Come get me. Take me out. What's going on? What's wrong now? Why is he coming out of the game now? He was cramping. And then I guess he couldn't go back in the game. He did not go back in the game. That was it. You saw 18 minutes of some of the most spectacular play. There's another guy that scored 49 points in the game, and had Darryn Peterson not got hurt, it might not have been the most impressive performance of that night. And I said that Acuff had the most impressive performance of the season because that's the kind of heater Peterson was on to start this game. Come get me. Come get me. Again with this guy. And he's cramping. He doesn't go back in. Kansas was up double digits. They were kind of handling Oklahoma State, who, again, is not that great. It's still a risk to take out your best player on the road and think that we're going to just be fine. But Kansas had no choice because he didn't want to play anymore. And Bill Self, they won this game 81-69. But, Bill Self, who has been extremely patient during this. You can talk about the lack of patience you saw from Mick Cronin yesterday when he was going completely insane, ejecting his own guy, challenging reporters, being like, why are you raising your voice at me? Bill Self has handled this like a mensch. He is not throwing his kid under the bus. He's been cool, calm, and collected, even though there's been all these crazy rumors. We saw the text that went out with a guy who we don't know what his affiliation is or was with the school, but he seemed to have information about why Darryn Peterson didn't play in that Arizona game, and it seemed more like a Bill Self being tired of his antics, being like, bro, if you're going to complain, just sit out. And he's like, all right, cool, I'm not playing. And there may have been some kind of verbal altercation prior to the whole situation with him missing that Arizona game. Publicly, Bill Self has supported him, said, hey, man, the guy's hurt. Hey, man, the guy's sick. Like, we love him, and we know he's going to get right. And when he plays, man, we're going to be great. And when he has played, Kansas looks different. Now, they've looked good even without him because they've learned how to play without him. But watching him last night, like watching that game, it was like, oh, man, this Kansas is really rolling. Like, when they got him out there, they are a different team. But now it's become questionable about how reliable he is at any point in time. I put the tweet out that he's not beating the street clothes allegations. I'm going to say it again. He is not beating the street clothes allegations. Anthony Davis, we're about, drafts in June. We're about 4 months away. Potentially your watch may be over. You've held this nickname since Charles Barkley famously anointed you street clothes. And I know you hate the nickname because it's not flattering. But he said it because you always seem to find a way to miss a lot of games and you're always hurt. Your watch may be over if this guy comes in the NBA, he pulls this stuff. I mean, this guy's a freshman in college and he's load managing and pulling himself out of games regularly. I've never seen this before. Games where he's playing and you get nicked up. Things happen in a basketball game. And then he's just like, I'm done. Don't put me back in. I'm like, games are in the balance. Completely bizarre. Here is Bill Self, who says the Darryn Peterson pulling himself out of the game situation was totally unexpected.
Well, we've had it more than a couple of times, and I didn't anticipate that tonight at all. I thought he was good to go, but obviously we only got 18 minutes out of him. That's disappointing because he could have had a really big night. But one thing about it is it's happened often enough that our guys have learned to play without him, even though that's not the way we want to play. But that's certainly something that we're not unaccustomed to, right now.
It's like we're getting used to this. The only silver lining to this is that we're used to this guy having, at any point in a game, randomly saying, I'm done playing basketball today. They've gotten used to it, so they can adjust and they can find a way to win games. But here's also Bill Self saying that him having to pull himself out of games for cramping, we're no longer at the, well, it's fine, we'll figure this out. He says, this is concerning.
It's a concern, but I thought we were past it, but obviously we're not. But it's certainly a concern, and you get into the NCAA tournament and you're playing a team just as good as you, and you need to have all your best players available, so to speak. So all it takes is for one day like that to derail not only a game but a season. So it's concerning, but I do think we're making progress.
He tried to save it there by saying we're making progress, but I think Bill Self is losing patience with this. And I think he's like, this we may cost ourselves a shot at a national title because we have no idea what this guy's going to do on any given game. And we could say, well, okay, this is, as much as I hate normalizing this, well, this is the regular season. And if it's do or die March Madness games, you would think that he's not going to pull himself out of a game. But there's no guarantee of that. We have no idea. This guy just arrived. He just showed up. We have no track record of Darryn Peterson. The only Darryn Peterson we know is the guy who doesn't play when he's sick, doesn't play when he has cramps, has a hamstring or groin pull, and is out for a month and a half. This is the only guy we know. So I don't know what he's going to do when he gets to March Madness. And if Bill Self is sounding that concerned, then I mean, who knows what he's doing dealing with behind the scenes with this kid. And I said it before, and I think now I feel like we have to talk about it when we talk about his NBA evaluation. You would be crazy not to look at this and say, I need to get to the bottom of why he is doing this. And there's a point where it's like, oh, you know, some bad luck. Hey, man, you get sick, you get food poisoning, you don't know what happens, you can't play. You know, maybe he's young, you know, he'll learn better. Maybe in a different environment, you got to try to tough it out there for your team. But he's 19, 18 years old. Like, you know, give him a break. I think at this point, with this, again, a college basketball player that is essentially load managing, and it seems like randomly, it's like Kansas can't actually predict when he's going to pull himself out of the game anymore. I mean, to not even go into the game because you got cramped is insane. I'm sorry, it's insane. It's insane. It's not like he got pulled out with 2 minutes left, because sometimes that happens. Like, remember the NBA Finals? LeBron had those terrible cramping issues. I think this was against the Spurs the first time. And they kept having to, like, take him out of the game. He'd be stretching, drinking Gatorade, and, like, cursing because he'd be so pissed because he couldn't get back out there. But he kept going back out there. He played as long as he could, and then he cramped, and then they had to pull him back out and then stretch him out for a couple of minutes, and then he'd run back out there. Like, that was the guy, I mean, I know that was the NBA Finals. But still, like, cramps don't mean you're out for the game. That's not how this typically works. That would... 16, 17 minutes left in the second half. You say, okay, you're cramping, let's get you some Gatorade. Maybe we'll put an IV in you. And then we go to the locker room, you'll come back and you're good to go. He's just like, no, I can't play. Don't even put me out there. You're not at some risk to tear your Achilles because you're cramping. That's not part of this. He just seems to have, and it's something that Kendall mentioned, like, with all due respect to Vince Carter, we love Vince Sanity, Air Canada, VC, half man, half amazing. But you know that Vince Carter trait that people talked about with him when it came to, like, and that feels even disrespectful to compare him to this kid, but because it was a different time, because he wasn't doing this, but this, like, oh, I'm a little banged up, I'm not gonna be able to go tonight, or he's down. You're thinking, all right, he's gonna be on that floor for a long time. When is he gonna get up? Like that little trait that you talk about doesn't mean the guy can't be a great player. Vince Carter was is a Hall of Famer, one of the greats ever. But he seems to have that trait. But when you go to this extreme, where you'll just put yourself out of the game for cramps, we don't know when you're gonna come back, and you just don't come back, and the coaches seem baffled, the training staff seem baffled, everyone is baffled around you. I don't think you're doing your due diligence as a NBA organization if you're not absolutely grilling him about what the hell is going on. Because we don't have rookies. We can talk about all load management, all you want. You don't have rookies that are load managing in the NBA. You know, Victor Wembanyama, they tried to be careful with him because they wanted to be delicate with his playing time and those things. But you don't have, they weren't just saying, let's just randomly pull Victor Wembanyama out of games. That wasn't happening. Is he going to try to pull us with an NBA team? Again, for the people and like the anonymous GMs that keep trying to say, oh, this is a big deal. I'm like, what? How do you not know this is not a big deal? We don't know this kid. We don't know anything. He just arrived and this is how he's been. Who's to say that he goes to an organization that is happy, that will just be happy to have him, and he doesn't have these issues? Like, a great example, I think, is what happened with Zion Williamson. And I first guessed this when he got to New Orleans. That first press conference they had in New Orleans, when David Griffin, who was the general manager, went to that mic and said, this is not Zion Williamson's team, this is Jrue Holiday's team. I'm like, this thing is doomed. Ask Kendall. We were doing sports talk podcast together, and I told him, like, that is a terrible sign. You draft a generational prospect, the most exciting player to come into an NBA draft since LeBron James, and you start his NBA career saying that he has no responsibilities as a leader of the team and that he is not the face of the franchise as Drew Holiday. And it's not even a diss to Drew Holiday. What are we talking about? Drew Holiday was on his way out. This is a young team that just drafted no one pick. He's a star in his prime that's trying to get to a contender. He wasn't going to be the future of the team. And I thought it set a terrible tone because to me that told me that they were going to baby this guy when they should have been like, we brought you here because we want you to be the guy that turns this thing around and spearheads us into the future. Not, this isn't your team. Look to Drew Holiday for help and look to Drew Holiday for leadership. That was stupid. And they did the same thing when it came to like his minutes. And, oh, you're going to play one little summer league game. All right, now you're not going to play at all. And we're going to be careful with how much you play. And they babied him every step of the way in Zion's development. And I kept talking about it. I'm like, this is not smart. This is a kid who, you know, I felt like we now know he was immature. I didn't want to say he was immature, but he felt very like innocent. Like he very much felt like an 18-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid. Where I think you were going to have to kind of really explain to him and really get through his head that he's no longer a kid. He's a grown man, and this is a grown man business, and there's jobs and millions of dollars on the line for him to be successful. He's got to take this thing seriously. And with them babying him the way they did, I think it set a terrible tone. And look how Zion Williamson's careers went. I don't think it had to go this way. I think it could have been a lot different. Is Darryn Peterson going to try to pull this stuff when he gets to the NBA? We saw how that worked with Zion Williamson. That was a disaster. He's a disaster on the court and off the court. Can't stay healthy. Can't seem to get away from OnlyFans models and then be embarrassingly videotaped, or we're getting messages showing his interactions with these women. Like, it's been a disaster. But it started off on the wrong foot because they didn't give him any responsibility. And then when he's already making $200 million, you've already given him an extension. He's already a star. He's already seen life-changing money. Now you say, okay, now let's get tough on him. That's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. You got to set the tone immediately. And that was Zion Williamson, who wasn't doing any of this. He wasn't pulling himself out of games. He wasn't doing any of this at Duke. He got hurt and he came back and played. Remember, he busted his shoe, and when Barack Obama was there, he's like, oh my God, his shoe fell off. Remember that infamous game? I think that was against North Carolina, right? And Barack was there. He injured his knee. And we were like, oh man, he got injured. I hope he's going to be able to return. If that happened to Darryn Peterson, he might miss next NBA season. That's how much I have no idea and no confidence that he at all has any interest in playing through any kind of pain or any kind of injury, because we haven't seen him even try this year. So Bill Self's at a loss for words. And it's puzzling to people who follow this game. Here's Joel Mashburn, Kentucky basketball legend, March Madness hero, who is watching this as a college basketball analyst for TNT. And he's like, at this point, like, why would you even want to play in March Madness if this is going to be how you're going to approach this, Darryn Peterson?
They really need him to win a championship. But if he's going to get in the NCAA tournament and you're going to load manage that part of it,
Wild.
Why even be a part of it at that?
Why even be a part of it? We're actually asking if a guy's going to load manage in the NCAA tournament. You don't think that's a red flag when it comes to the NBA draft? Okay. You don't ask him that question. You act like this is totally normal and you see what happens. I really hope he goes to a team that is strong-minded, strong-willed, with a strong-willed coach and strong-willed front office that will not allow themselves to be just like railroaded the way I feel like Kansas has. Which is so weird because this is Kansas and it's Bill Self, a legend. Like he runs that program like he kind of presents himself as like the nice guy. Who knows how these guys are behind the scenes. But I think typically he's seen as like, he's not like a Bob Knight type or like a Mick Cronin type. I think he's seen more on the players coach side than like the insane drill sergeant type coach. But you still never really know from the outside, even watching guys on the sideline, how they are behind closed doors. But he still wields a ton of power. He may be the most accomplished coach in college basketball left. We lost a lot of legends. It's basically him and Izzo. And he can't get a handle of this. He is lost. He's like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what's going to happen. And you draw Masper's like, yo, why would you even want to play in March Madness? This is how you're going to approach this. So Bruce Pearl also was on that show for TNT. Shout out to TNT. Hosted by Adam Lefkoe. Jalen Rose is on there as well. And Bruce Pearl just finished coaching. And maybe this is why he got out. Maybe he saw that this is going. And he said, there may have been a time where you wouldn't be able to pull this with your teammates. But even the teammates now know, with the money that's coming to him and what he has coming to his future, they may kind of get it. And therefore, we kind of may be in a situation where it just is what it is with him moving forward.
It's a business, and I think the kids in the locker room understand he's got a chance to be number one. They want him to be healthy. You know, I think times have changed a little bit. Years ago, there might have been guys in the locker room that would really taken him to task a little bit, like, hey, man, we need you to win this championship. But they all recognize it might be just bigger than that.
Bigger than winning a national championship. That sucks. And you know what's funny is they used to talk about this about the college football playoff. If you'll remember when they were talking about expanding the college football playoff, part of the reason was, again, the bowl games, which are still a joke. We're becoming, even like the big ones were becoming a joke. But one of the things they kept saying was, oh, don't think that like people are just going to want to play through this thing. And this thing, even though they have a chance to national championship, they won't pull out because they want to opt into the NFL draft and not worry about this. They'll just let their team hang to dry, go win a championship without me. I'm going to the NFL. We have not seen that. In fact, we've seen coaches quit on their teams. we saw that with Lane Kiffin quitting on his team as they had a shot to win a national championship to go to LSU. We haven't seen players. We didn't see Ruben Bain saying, all right, Miami, you made the playoffs. I did my job. Go win the championship. I'm going to the NFL. We didn't see David Bailey tell Texas Tech, hey, congratulations, I'm going to the NFL. Go see if you go win a national championship. We didn't see Dante Moore do, well, Dante Moore stayed, but, you know, we didn't see these guys. Fernando Mendoza being like, all right, I've done all I can do. I'm a Heisman Trophy winner. I don't care about that championship. There were people who actually thought there may be players that will opt out of the playoff because they're like, okay, yes, it's a chance at a championship, but, like, that's more games, more risk. There's $millions coming to these guys. Why would they want to risk it? But what we've seen, though, is these guys are making so much money in college football that money thing is not becoming as much of a factor. In fact, same thing with college basketball, where we have guys that played professional ball want to come back to college because of the amount of money that's out there for them. So that's what makes this particular situation so unique and so weird. But Bruce Pearl saying, listen, these players now know it's a business, and they may have come to the conclusion that, like, there's something bigger than even trying to win a national championship. That is a sad situation. I don't think it has to be like that. I don't think that I don't think it is. I don't think you have any other kids doing this. I hope this isn't a trend. And I think we need to keep talking about it. And I don't want, college kids are a little weird. You don't want to just keep killing kids and stuff because of, the fact that they're professional. They're adults, and now they're getting paid, so they're not even amateurs anymore. But I still think there's a responsibility in terms of how you talk about a college student, regardless of their situation. But I do think we got to keep talking about this guy. I think this is a terrible precedent that could potentially be set by Darryn Peterson moving forward. Wow. I did this show. I actually did this show. Did a show at midnight from 5 a.m. on the Fan. And came back. Got to the crib. Took an hour nap. Got back up. And did another episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights. I'm dedicated to you guys. I'm dedicated to this. I'm not ditching the grind in any way. I'm not ducking the grind. I'm about this life. I told you guys every weekday, Monday through Friday, I will be doing 2 live shows per day. Doesn't matter what stuff comes up in my life. I'm going to give you guys these 2 live shows a day. We're coming down to the wire with this. We're about to end week 6 tomorrow, which means we'll have just 2 weeks left of this. Great opportunity to be on the Fan. We had a great show this morning / last night, but I wasn't going to skip 40 Days and 40 Nights for anything. So I'm really happy that I got to do this. And I'm really excited for later today. I did see Bob Custer in the chat. I don't know if he heard it or if I played it before he posted this comment. But he posted the comment. Do you have, because Manny Rodriguez, he's going to enter the fray once again after our failed attempt at getting him on a couple weeks ago. He's going to return for 40 Days and 40 Nights. Bob asking, do you have Manny's epic video of him screaming, "Let's go Knicks"? I do not have the video, but I do have this. Let's go Knicks! Do have the drop. Do not have the video. I probably have access to it. Maybe I'll see if I can play it later. I don't know where it is, but I'm sure I can find it. The great Angie Kaplan usually keeps all this stuff handy. But I do have Manny Drop, so we do have that.
Let's go, Knicks! That sleazeball Anthony Gallo.
Speaking of Anthony Gallo, I've had conversations about getting him on too. Anthony Gallo, one of my good friends at WFAN, another part-time host, one of the awesome full-time digital guys behind the scenes. Gallo, we need to get on. I know. Manny called him a sleazeball.
That sleazeball Anthony Gallo.
I don't think Anthony Gallo's a sleazeball. I think Anthony Gallo is a good dude. I know he's very excited talking about college basketball. His St. John's Red Storm, looking great, looking absolutely great right now. And then mine too. College basketball, another thing which you guys already know if you watch me on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Maybe not so much on 40 Nights, but if you watch me on Maggie and Perloff show, if you listen to me on The Fan, college basketball is the only sport where I have two teams, St. John's and Gonzaga. Only sport. So I love St. John's, where I grew up, not that far from the school. My dream was always play at St. John's. But as a kid, I also grew to love Gonzaga, and they also became my college basketball team. So I have two college basketball teams. So Gallo, I was only one because he went to St. John's. He's not fugazi like me, so he's excited, and I want to get him on the show. We've already talked about it. He has a weird schedule. Doing this show for him is very hard, but he's going to try to make it happen. And now, while I'm on guest, I guess I can do this. I don't normally go too far advanced of who I've got booked, but we got some big guests coming next week. Big guests. Monday for the night show. So that'll be night 31. Evan Roberts of Evan and Tiki will join me for 40 Days and 40 Nights. Let's get the round of applause there for Evan. Evan Roberts of Evan and Tiki of WFAN will join me. Talk Mets spring training on Monday night. That'll be a lot of fun. And then Tuesday night, my good friend, the great Zach Gelb, will join me on 40 Days and 40 Nights. We got to end this thing strong, man. I told you guys, I'm going to try to end this thing strong. I have, I think, great friends in this industry, people that have supported me and people that have shown me love at various different points. I want to give that love back. I also want to give them this platform. I mean, they don't need my platform. Those guys are stars already within themselves. But I'm excited that they're willing to share this platform with me for a little bit, talk some sports, and have some fun. Really excited to have both Evan Roberts from Evan and Tiki on Monday, and we'll have Zach Gelb on Tuesday. John Lean saying, hard hat guy. You know, that's me. I embrace that with the other baby D aliens during the DA show when I was on Infinity Sports Network. And I made a commitment. I committed to you guys. I committed to this grind. I committed to doing 40 days and 40 nights every weekday, Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day. And even though I had a night job where I did radio talking to people for 5 hours, I wasn't going to not do this. So I appreciate you guys rocking with me. I appreciate you guys sticking around for this show. This was a ton of fun. My guy Eric from Ronkonkoma would be like, how tired are you right now? Laughing emojis. Extremely tired. But I'll be honest, though, I felt like, so I'll be full disclosure. I woke up at around, I set my alarm for 7:15. Usually my alarm is around 7 to 6:50. I was like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. I'll be honest. I was like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I can't keep my eyes open. I am dead right now. Because when you tease your body with, you've been waiting especially for me, and I'm used to doing the overnight shows because I've done it a bunch. Never done it where I did 2 shows the day before and then did a night show and then have a show coming up 3 hours later. Never did this, but I've done overnight shows a ton on The Fan. So you train your body, you know how to get through those kind of nights. You know, take a long nap in the afternoon or evening, drink a lot of coffee, be ready to go, do the 4 or 5 hours you got, get home, go to sleep throughout the day. And then you'll wake up around noon or 1, and then you'll begin your day from there. But everything was thrown off because I was doing this thing. I had to do 2 shows yesterday, so I do the first show. I have to do social media stuff afterwards and other stuff afterwards. So I can't just say I'm going to go to sleep now. I had to, do work. And then I eventually get to take a nap, but that nap isn't extended. It's like a 2-hour, a little less than 2-hour nap. And then I got to get ready for the next show because I got to get ready to to be ready to do another show. Unlike before when I'm just preparing, I can just sleep all day, which is what I typically do if I have a night show like this. So this was a lot. I woke up at 7:15 and I was like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can. I'm so dead right now. I don't even know where I am. I don't know if I can do this. But I just kept taking deep breaths. I was like, I'm going to get there. Just let me keep getting awake and getting awake and getting awake. Shout out to my lovely fiance. She made this coffee for me. I'm usually the one that makes coffee in the morning, but she's like, hey, can I help you out? Well, I was dead at this computer trying to prepare for this show. She's like, I can make coffee for you. I'm like, yes, please do. Shout out to coffee. Whoever thought about this, whoever thought about, as Manny always says, whoever thought about grinding these beans together and making some liquid out of it by putting some water through a filter. Smart people, because they helped me out this morning. So to answer Eric's question, I am extremely tired. But this has been a lot of fun. It's been fun to do this show. Because it's like, how is this going to go? And that's why I did it too. I was like, this is authentic. Like, again, I want this to be the most authentic version of EJ. Because if I was doing a radio show, or a TV show or anything like that, like no one cares about how much you slept or how much. They just want to watch the show. They just be entertained. Part of, I think, the magic of 40 Days and 40 Nights is these things about my life that are real are parts of the show. So if I get sick, I gotta talk about it. Something happens personally, I gotta talk. Like, I wanted this to be authentic again. So part of the journey is not just the content. I hope I am able to entertain you guys for these hours. It's also whatever I'm dealing with and how that impacts the show. So I think part of the show is also what I'm dealing with, which is why I talk about it. Why, again, some people say, oh, why are you talking about yourself? Nobody cares about that. Just do the show, damn it. This is a different kind of show. I want everything to be out there. So I'm really excited that this worked out. John Lee's very excited about the guests coming up next week. Yes, again, like I said earlier, Manny Rodriguez, my homie and my friend and my former associate producer of Maggie Pearl Show, he joined me later tonight. Of course, we have Kendall Fridays. He's here all the time. Every Friday. My brother, Kendall Stewart, co-host of Hero Talk on New Generation Media, co-host of Imperial Broadcast. And Monday, we'll have WFAN's Evan Roberts of the Rico Brogna podcast and of the radio show Evan and Tiki on to join me to talk Mets spring training. Tuesday, we will have Zach Gelb live, also at the night show. So big, fun guests coming up for these next few shows. This is going to be a very fun, exciting sprint to the finish as we get to wrapping up 40 Days and 40 Nights. I'm going to bed. Thank you so much for checking me out. Not all heroes wear capes, my guy. Can't wait for the 24-hour show. That's not happening. But thanks for the comment, Rob. I'll be back later. Again, nothing stops this train, and I'll have enough time to sleep this time. I'll be back later tonight, again, starting at 6 p.m. Manny Rodriguez will join me at 6:30, so that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you, again, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, New Generation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm EJ Stewart. I'm going to bed. I'll see you guys later.